Hello, everyone, and today we have finally gotten, I think, the patch we've all been waiting for Total War Rome Remastered. And, this is a big one. I've released several videos today about the patch and about a bunch of the mods that are going to be released in tandem. And, we've talked about the big things like unlimited factions, unlimited units, unlimited buildings, unlimited religions, unlimited cultures. But I wanted to make this video and go through everything that has been improved, the whole patch notes essentially, or at least the major points, and explain some of them. Yeah, I hope that you find this video informative. So let's go through them here. So we have new game features in 2.0 patch 2.0.4. So there are new UX features. So this one, the new full-size info panels for units and buildings. I really like this one. So these can be accessed by expanding the smaller info panel on the left side of the screen. When in campaign mode, this will hide the smaller panel and instead expand a new larger middle panel. The panel settings will be saved, so once a user selects the larger view, all future info panels will be large until they toggle the setting back to the smaller mode. This larger panel doesn't exist in 3D battles, though if I'm not mistaken, that can be modded. So you can have bigger panels in battle if you want, though of course it would make things a little more crowded. But in any case, this is a big change. I really like this change. But because I was mostly testing out vanilla when I was testing out Rome Remastered for my review videos and all of that, and a lot of the mods that I was testing out are also sort of vanilla based. There was nothing that I really wanted to read or go into that wasn't already in that small panel. So in the small panel, it's hard to see like descriptions. It's not good if you're a description reader, if you're curious about that and some background and things like that. And the original game had this big panel where it came up in the center. So yeah, this I really like. I'll show this when I do my playthrough of Chivalry that I'll be releasing today as well. So yeah, this I think is a huge change for the UI. I really like it. So I hope that a lot of people are happy with this as well. Add region names underneath settlement names in the campaign tags. So this one is pretty self-explanatory. The tags for the settlements, they are pretty large, and I think adding the region names under the settlement names really allows them to utilize some of this extra space well. So I like that. Now, of course, there are some mods that don't have good region names, or the region name is the same as the city, right? So I don't know, Milan and then Milan region, right? So that in that case, it would not be, aesthetically pleasing to see, either the same thing or the city name plus region right under the city name everywhere. So for mods that don't have unique region names like that, this feature is disableable. So you can disable this and there's no problem. So, but I like this change. Of course, for Chivalry, there are region names, unique region names. So I like having this for sure. So add population and public order to settlement captured screen. So one of the things changed in Rome Remastered is that when you capture a settlement, the settlement captured screen is quite a bit larger, if I'm not mistaken, than the original Rome Total War. And because of that, it made it a little annoying to like scroll to the side and then see what the public order is of the settlement so that you can adjust your strategy accordingly. Do you occupy? Do you enslave or exterminate? So actually now it shows up on the settlement captured screen, the population and public order statistics. So you can decide, so you don't have to scroll and check, right? The information is right there on the settlement captured screen. Other than that, add previously seen fog of war stage to the minimap. That's fine. Show religion percentage on the settlement icon Tooltip, this is a nice change as well. Let players see religion in non-known settlements if they can also see population loyalty. Yep. Add tooltip specifying the rebel subtype for characters and settlements. Improvements to card order when grouping and ungrouping units. Minor fixes to avoid text clipping on some screens. Building browser info panels and tooltips. Improve requirements information. This one is actually important. So if you have a unit that requires a couple of buildings, right? Let's say, so this is something that was in like Medieval 1, for example. Let's say you have a unit and you want it to be recruitable, but only if you have, I don't know, wooden walls plus infantry barracks. Then when you construct, let's say, the wooden walls, you can see that unit there, but then when you mouse over it, it says, this unit also requires the infantry barracks. So that is a very good thing. This was not you could have units with multiple requirements before, but it was not very well reflected in the UI. So this is nice to see. And smaller miscellaneous improvements. Factions, so line of sight correctly disables when the Roman Civil War starts. That's fine. I never play Roman, so yeah. Religion, fixed issue with rebel settlements always being angry due to religion. Yeah, this is a important fix. This, I believe, was also an issue in the original, but I might be mistaken, but I think it was. A bunch of minor fixes. So allow assassins to queue up a move for next turn, even if they have already conducted an action this turn. Fix rebel merchants generating income for the settlement they are sitting in. Improve and simplify ram and chariot outlines and hitboxes. Armies can no longer construct sap points if they physically cannot use them with their current units. So that's quite normal. Fix units saying orders completed when they're given invalid orders. That is pretty straightforward. New campaign features. So now we're getting into some interesting stuff. So support multiple family trees and other improvements. This one is very nice, especially for, medieval period or other period mods. You can have multiple family trees. So when you go into the royal family tree, usually in the original and in remastered, it would show the family tree of only the king, right? Only the royal family. Now, actually the game, you can scroll through the family tree so you can see the families of other noble families. And I think that's a huge change. That's really nice. And then, of course, as the campaign develops and you get new noble families and things, you can track their history and the characters. And I think that's really cool. I'm really happy about that. Other than that, prevent the AI from requesting a trade agreement with a faction they have an embargo with. Self-explanatory. Prevent being able to simultaneously declare a trade embargo and offer trade rights in the same diplomatic proposition. Right? Improve the chance of AI attacking forts, especially when they are occupied in their own territory. So there are a lot of AI fixes as well here. So battle AI. Improve placement of units in enclosed areas. Block invalid formations. Improve a number of aspects of wall pathing logic. Pathing improvement when choosing first point on a path. Tighten conditions for stopping a charge so units can close gaps better. Fix and optimize grouping algorithm for wall units. Add implementation of Hungarian algorithm that solves the assignment problem. I actually don't know what that is. Improving defensive AI for walls. Improve UI path logic for attacking siege towers. Fix problems with climbing siege towers while being attacked. Make AI more consistently aggressive. Improve pathing for large units passing through gates, treat cavalry that is getting further away, and this is a very nice change, this pathing for large units passing through gates. I've seen it in action, and it's quite nice. So treat cavalry that is getting further away as an invalid target for infantry units. This is a huge one. So now it's more difficult to bait enemies with cavalry. So the enemy AI would have their infantry chase your cavalry, even if it was, let's say, a horse archer unit, and then your horse archers would just whittle down the infantry, and they would never catch you, and they would get tired, and you would charge them, and they would break. So now the AI is not going to chase you with infantry, right? They might chase you with cavalry, but not infantry, and that, of course, makes a lot more sense. Minor improvements to settlement layouts. Make defending AI artillery follow units. Make AI more dynamic when defending the plaza. For cities with no walls, consider the city and the outside as the same area. So this is actually a huge one, especially for, Europa Barbarorum has unique nomadic settlements, right? And barbarian settlements that don't have walls. And these settlements are pathfinding nightmares. And I think part of that was this issue. So I think, in Europa Barbarorum ports that we have started to see, this will really help that. And with other mods that add unique settlements, like chivalry, even though a chivalry doesn't really have too many unwalled settlements. Make units rotate to the correct direction when defending junctions. Make soldiers move around rams when they run into them. That's all nice. Crash fixes. Bunch of crashes fixed it. Fixed it, right. New modding specific features in 2.0.4. So now this is the meat of this update. So new UX features. Better support for displaying negative capabilities in the UI. Enable support for negative values on various bonuses. Now this is a huge one. So chivalry had a lot, or it has a lot of negative effects from particular buildings, like let's say martial law increases public order based on law, but decreases population and it decreases happiness, right? However, a lot of those negative capabilities didn't work properly in the original game. So, when this fix came through, a bunch of the chivalry values were out of whack. The campaign was out of whack. And it was because a lot of these negative values had actually started working, right? So then I had to rebalance. So now that these negative values work, mods have a lot more options in regards to them and buildings. So that's very nice. Allow mods to specify custom loading screens per map location. That's very nice as well. Allow hex values to be used in ux.pos files for font colors. So you can change font colors. Building browser, info panels, and tooltips. Rework item requirements to display conditional strings. And smaller miscellaneous improvements. Factions. So factions have been updated to support not 31 factions, not 25 factions, but virtually unlimited. So this is like a billion or 2 billion, something like that, if I'm not mistaken. No one will ever reach the limit. I don't think that will be possible unless someone writes a script to do that. So go for it, someone. I'll try to load it. So this is, I think, what everyone has been waiting for. Support for multiple super factions as well. So all super factions have their own line of sight. Senate AI now supports more than 3 child members. Allow options for super factions inside the Deskerstrat data file. And various minor improvements to super faction logic. So this is actually quite good. So hypothetically, I could have, let's say, a Crusader state super faction, right? And then all the Crusader principalities be sub factions of this super faction. Or you could make the Papal States a super faction of all the Catholic states. That would be a little strong, though. Or you could have a Holy Roman Empire super faction, right? And then the kingdoms and duchies as separate factions. And of course, all of that's possible because you can have unlimited numbers of factions, right? Improvements to shadow factions and loyalty. So shadowed factions won't automatically shadow back. So you have to specify that. Prevent shadow factions from stealing revolts while they're alive. Allow shadowed factions to have captain portraits. Player factions can trigger shadow faction switchback. Shadow faction resurrection has improved behavior. So this is quite nice, and combine the shadow faction mechanic with the unlimited factions, and you can have a campaign that's as dynamic as a Medieval 1 Total War campaign, and I've been waiting for that since Medieval 1. So yeah. Additionally, Emergent faction improvements. All previously hard-coded Emergent factions are now moddable, so this is quite nice. All factions can now be Emergent or Re-Emergent. Incredible. Detailed control of Emergent factions via new subscript. Various minor improvements to Emergent faction logic. Now, the Emergent factions are some of the best parts of the new Barbarian Invasion campaign because there's so much replayability there. And that's why in my review of Rome Remastered, I said the campaign that has seen the most improvement and is actually fun for me now is Barbarian Invasion. I was never a huge Barbarian Invasion campaign fan. But, you know, even with the vanilla style, which of course is not my favorite, Barbarian Invasion became super fun with the playable Emergent factions. Now, all of that's moddable. You can have as many Emergent factions as you want. And for a medieval grand campaign like I'm making, that is incredible. So you can have Emergent, anyone you want, anything you want. You can have an Emergent Kingdom of Lombardy or Lombard League. If someone unites Northern Italy, you can have an Emergent Kingdom of Jerusalem, for example. You can have Emergent anything. Let's say someone conquers Constantinople. You can have Emergent sub-Byzantine factions like the Empire of Nicaea or Trebizond or a Despotate of Epirus, right? So there's so much there that it's just really great. So line of sight correctly disables when the Roman Civil War starts. That's nice. Added rebel portraits for Roman rebels as mods might need it in certain circumstances. Allow AI do not attack faction to target multiple factions. This is a huge one. So, you know, a lot of mods really struggle with having sort of historical expansion, right? And preventing certain factions from attacking each other. So this AI do not attack faction mechanic is from Alexander, but since all the EXCs are essentially combined here in Rome Remastered, this is a super good one for any mod, really, that starts off with some sort of historical scenario. This essentially makes it so that you do not... I'll give an example. In the mod 77 BC, Fall of the Republic, Rise of the Empire 77 BC, you know, the most important, one of the most important enemies of Rome is Pontus, Mithridates, right? And one of the reasons Pontus was so dangerous is that they were allied with Armenia, right? So then Rome fought with both of them. But the problem was the AI would constantly attack each other, and then, you know, Rome would just have an easy go of it in the east, and nothing would happen historically, right? And there wouldn't be any historical development. So the mod maker for that, Salvor Hardin, he had to make a complicated script, right? So that they would ally every turn, right? And that would prevent them from attacking each other. Now, this makes it so that stuff like that is no longer necessary, okay? Make pirate and brigand spawn rates at 0 disabled spawns. So this is a good one too. So now you can really disable pirate and brigand spawning if you want, right? It depends on the mod if you want that or not. And so that was not, you were not able to do that before. And that's why, you know, I remember you would have brigands spawn in, like, I don't know, Lake Urmia, and then there would constantly be storms destroying the fleet. And that was a bit of an immersion breaker, right? So now you don't have to have that anymore. Allow rebel subfactions, as in Slave cosplay? I don't know what that is. Not shadow factions to have their own custom faction logos to match the banners. I don't know what that is. Oh, actually, I get it. I get it. Okay. Allow setting faction aggression levels in the desk or strat. Yeah. Allow slave faction to have a functioning family and mods. Various minor improvements to faction behavior. That's good. This is a huge one. Culture has been updated to support virtually unlimited numbers of cultures. So now you can essentially give every faction their own culture if you want. Right, of course, this depends on the period. Like for the original Roman time period, having a bunch of factions in the same culture, like the Diadochi states, the Hellenistic kingdoms, the Gaelic tribes, the Britons, having some culture groups makes sense. However, sometimes it just doesn't make sense. For example, having the Dacians, the Iberians, and the Scythians in the same culture group. That doesn't make sense. Now you can do whatever you want. You can make as many cultures as you want. It is a bit harder to make a culture than it is a new faction. I will probably make a video on making a new faction, but it's a little bit harder to make a new culture because cultures are referenced in quite a few files. And it's a little more... okay, it's not that hard to change, but I'll make a video about it. Anyway, Roman faction AI assists can now be controlled via data files. A number of settlement mechanics are now moddable, enable the ability to specify which cultures are barbarian-like. You can set faction-specific minimum-maximum lifespans, and miscellaneous minor fixes and improvements. This is really great. Now, this is actually something I've been requesting since before Rome Remastered's release. During the whole Feral Interactive question and answer session, I asked about religions. I was on top of this from the start because I knew I wanted to see a medieval mod in Rome Remastered, and having unlimited religions. You'll see I've taken advantage of this in Chivalry Remastered. So religion has been updated to support virtually unlimited numbers of religions, and they all have an effect on public order. So in the original, there are a couple mods that add a bunch of religions, but the religions past 3 no longer affect public order, right? So they don't cause unrest. And it's a little bit immersion breaking if the mechanic only works partially, right? So religions, so for example, in Chivalry Remastered, I've split up Christianity, right? Original Chivalry had just Christianity, Islam, and paganism / heresy / non-confirmation. So now, already in the first release, I have added Catholicism, Orthodox Christianity, and Apostolic Christianity. So now there are 3 essentially Christian religions. I'm going to split Islam into Shia and Sunni Islam. I have not had time to do so yet. And the other thing is religions can now specify a group. And this is a huge one. So when religions are in the same group, like for example, I have Orthodox Christianity, Catholicism, and Apostolic Christianity in the same group, the Christian group, and they still cause unrest to each other, but not as much as, for example, paganism would cause to a Catholic faction, let's say. So, and here it says religions can have different unrest multipliers against other religions. So this is pretty incredible. So you can make it so that paganism causes more unrest to Islamic and Christian factions, right? And it just adds a whole layer of campaign gameplay that was just not there in the original. And this will be so good for medieval era mods, Dark Age era mods, Renaissance era mods, Napoleonic era mods, I guess, and Barbarian Invasion era mods as well. Right? So this will actually allow some of the in-depth mods like Invasio Barbarorum to take more advantage of the time period and to make a deeper campaign. And that's pretty incredible. So define the amount of unrest relative to the settlement population. This is pretty incredible too. Changes to appropriate UX and data files allow for extra religions. Support new religious conditions for buildings. Support new religious conversion logs for modders. Allow traits and followers to have more than one religious effect. Smaller miscellaneous improvements. So I'm probably the most happy about this one, or not the most happy, but I'm really happy about this one. More so than maybe other people. But yeah, and of course you can change the religion mechanic so that it's more like a extra culture mechanic, right? If you don't want to implement religion, you can use it for something else, or as a government type, like in EB2, if I'm not mistaken, and an extra culture mechanic as well. Buildings. So buildings have been updated to support virtually unlimited numbers of buildings. This is huge. Allow buildings _ factions condition to be used for upgrade lines. Allow grouping buildings in multiple groups of mutual exclusivity. The building factions condition now works for recruitment lines. Allow the building factions condition to be used in the upgrades block. Add faction-wide keyword to building condition resource checks. Support for new religious-based conditions. Add agent number limits for all agent types, modifiable through building effects. Added AI destruction hint option to building definitions. Remove limit of 32 effects per building level. So not only are the buildings unlimited, but there are now unlimited effects per building. Added can player affect this. Remove the implicitly decided temple type which prevented building other temples while one existed, and replace it with a system of tags and the no building tagged condition. So now this is moddable. And this is moddable. Allow specifying faction-wide condition to check across the entire faction. Make unit availability restrictions in building definitions file implicit. Add scripting conditions for checking diplomacy status between two factions. Make capability trade fleet moddable. This is really great. I remember this was an issue before. Allow using the capability settlement condition on capabilities and recruitment. Add the ability to specify custom strings in building capabilities. Miscellaneous minor fixes and improvements. Combat versus effects are now fully moddable. So this is like, there are a bunch of traits that modify your character's combat versus other types of people. So your guy could, I don't know, it could say he hates barbarians, and then he has better fighting abilities, better command against barbarians. All of this is now fully moddable, so you can make that as detailed as you want. New traits and follower features, so new religious abilities, improved culture support. Add max allowed variable to traits. Add inherit chance to traits to allow them to be inherited by a character's children. And general gameplay, so added mod accessible toggle for garrisons affecting revolt chance. Add scorch effects to campaign toggle. Add extremely hardy attribute option to units. Add unit-specific move speeds. Oh, so this is a huge one. You can, before, you had cavalry and you had infantry, and that was it, right? But now you can have unit-specific movement speeds, right? So you can actually make heavy infantry move slower than light infantry. You can have light cavalry move faster than heavy cavalry, and horse archers move really quickly, right? So that actually adds a whole layer of strategy that will make it more viable to have, hit and run strategies with lighter, more nimble cavalry, right? So modders can go crazy with this, right? Additionally, miscellaneous minor fixes to sound, New campaign features. So new settlement features, there is a squalor and distance from capital penalties are now moddable. This is huge, so you can actually modify squalor and distance from capital penalties. Now this basically makes it so that bigger maps can actually be viable, right? Because part of the reason bigger maps were not viable in the original Rome Total War were that the distance from capital penalty was hard-coded, and if you conquered a settlement at a certain distance, the penalty would just be too much, no matter what, and it was very difficult to deal with that. So now that's all moddable. Minimum and upgrade population levels are now moddable. So I believe in Medieval 2, you can adjust these population levels, right, based on the mod, but it wasn't possible in Rome. Now it's possible. Make major events completely moddable, like the Marian reforms. Now this is huge. So before you had the Marian reforms, and I believe that was it. So if EB had reforms like with scripts and heavy duty things like that, and those took a toll on performance. It took a toll on end turn times. It took a toll on stability. But now you can have unlimited Marian style reforms, right? And you can make it for a particular faction group. You can make it for a particular faction. You can make it so that there are some reforms based on time period, some reforms based on buildings, some reforms based on, I don't know, conquering a particular settlement or a faction controlling a particular area. This, I think, is the single most, perhaps, let's say, underrated thing that I think people should have been requesting. This really will make mods like Europa Barbarorum and other similar mods like I'm planning on implementing such reforms in Chivalry. Modders can go crazy with this. This is just incredible. It will make your campaign feel like you are progressing. It will really improve that sort of historical progression feel in the campaign, right? And improve your immersion and make you want to continue your campaign and see what happens, right? Because along with the unlimited units and the unlimited regions and the unlimited factions, this will just make it incredible. Religious unrest penalties can now be modded per religion. Override the default religion of a settlement. Support for per settlement custom models on the campaign map. This is really incredible. So you can have more custom models for your settlements on the campaign map. It's just really great. Allow settlement name to be used as a character surname. Allow use of settlement loyalty, public order as a multiplier to region income. So yeah, these new settlement features, I'm really happy about these. Other than this, add ambient models on campaign map, allow defining of specific brigand and pirate factions per region. Option to have opaque fog of war in mods, hides undiscovered areas completely. So this is kind of like the Medieval 2 style. I really like this. Allow overlapping mercenary pools. Fort plans are now consistent. Add support for unit-specific AI recruitment bias using recruit priority offset. New battle features. Allow aspects of battle AI to be moddable via data files. Now this is really incredible as well. These new battle features you will be very happy with. So basically, there are more aspects of the battle AI that are moddable, and you can even change the battle AI for particular factions and make particular factions have certain battle AI. So you can have, let's say, a Scythian faction use horse archers differently compared to Parthia. And you can have the Ptolemies use their phalanxes differently than Kingdom of Macedon, for example. That is really amazing. I think this is a really amazing change. There's going to be a lot of experimentation, that's for sure. Increase the maximum number of officers. So you can have way more officers in your units. And, they can have banners. They can have horns and things like that. This is a great change. Increases unit variety. Add the ability to vary unit models, including based on armor and weapon levels. This is incredible. So this will really allow for more variation within units, and modders can go crazy with that. I mean, the easiest example is, I believe, in Imperium Surrectum. They have already added a bunch of shield reskins in a lot of units, so now there is a variation within the units based on that. And remember, those units are ported from Roma Surrectum. So those are original Rome Total War units, but now they have variation in original Rome Total War units because of this addition. So this is not something that was necessary in base Rome Remastered, right? This is for modding. So this is incredible. Really helpful for people porting mods. Implement field of view slider for the remastered and classic camera modes. Right? Allow setting tattoo color per faction. So you can change tattoo color per faction. Additional battle map sky modding options. So that's self-explanatory. Enhanced tweaks mode, expose game engine settings for mods. Save games record enabled mods. Refactored name lists for better modding control. The name lists file, I will make a video talking about it because of all the files that I had to alter stuff for to port chivalry, name lists was probably the most annoying one. So I'll make a video about it. But it's a helpful file. Just creating it for the first time when you're porting a mod is annoying. And that's why I'll make a video about it. Logging features, improved logging, right? So it's just, this really helps, especially new modders and even old modders kind of track down issues, right? And track down changes they've made and how that's affecting the game, right? So this is really helpful. I would not have been able to port Chivalry without this improved logging and Rome Remastered because I just don't have the time to learn all those things. But I learned all of them by trial and error and analyzing the logs in Rome Remastered. So that's really great. Scripting features, there's so much stuff added to the scripting. I think more has been added to the scripting than anything else. Add go to character command for campaign, add go to capital command for campaign, add scripting command to alter a region's religious profile, removed unit limits, create unit command, was 5 in original game, add destroy unit and swap unit for scripting and Rome shell, added commands for setting the faction leader and heir, allow a faction to be passed into captured settlement, add has office command, add major event active command, add change character faction to move a named character to another faction, add a new event start turn trigger for the start of a round, enable diplomatic stance, enabled faction command, support local scope, access for a number of script and console commands, list of commands that support local scope is of course here. You can see, I will have the link to this in the description below. Add commands for adding and extracting counters from local scopes, added support for mods, adding their own income and expenditures. All of this stuff, again, this is stuff scripters will know about, and so many changes here. I don't grasp all of them, but really great changes. Total Conquest is the mod you want to play if you want to see someone take advantage of all of this. Commissar, the developer for Total Conquest, has taken advantage of so much of this. It's incredible. So, Rome Shell features. Add support for pasting clipboard into Rome Shell. Display whether achievements are enabled or not in Rome Shell, and if disabled, why. Add the ability to middle mouse scroll in Rome Shell while it's in focus. Add verify building units to check for duplicate units in buildings. Added a number of previous scripting-only commands to Rome Shell. Auto-generate documentation for Rome Shell commands in Preferences folder. Fixed issues loading specific assets from mod folders. So there was actually an issue where some things would not load from the mod folder. They would load from the original game files, no matter if you added them in the mod folder or not. All of that's been fixed. And the clone character CTD from the original game has been fixed. So this was a huge CTD, which I don't quite grasp what it was, but it was essentially an issue that prevented mods from generating historical characters at specific times, at specific turns. Something to do with characters having the same name, spawning, and then the game just overloaded and crashed. That's all fixed. This issue actually caused a lot of major mods to be really unstable, like Europa Barbarorum is the biggest example. So this is a huge fix. And that is it. So yeah, this video, I had actually, I know there's a lot to discuss here. We discussed pretty much everything. I had originally foreseen that this would take 30 minutes, but this took 40 minutes. That's fine. There is so much here. And again, we'll have some in-depth discussions of some of these other changes in other videos later this week. And I will also be doing some live streams to talk about this. So yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're happy with this patch for Total War Rome Remastered, the UI changes, the bug fixes, the increased modability. The modability is incredible here. There's so much work to be done. We've just hit the tip of the iceberg, right? We're at the tip of the iceberg here. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked the video, please consider liking the video and consider subscribing to the channel. I'll see you in the next one.